Hi, today I'm going to show you how to create an interactive data table in your Wized project that will sync in real time with your Xano database. So you have a database in Wized that will link with your real database in Xano, a bit like Airtable did it. So of course we need to update some information. But let's just see, we have Joe 1, 2, 3, we have Ray deck 1, 2, 3. We want the 1, 2, 3s out of there. So we're going to do Joe Croc and we're going to do Ray deck, not Ray deck 1, 2, 3. And now if we go back to Xano, keep an eye on the 1, 2, 3 and the 1, 2, 3. If we reload that, it will say Joe Croc and Ray deck. No 1, 2, 3. So when we do updates on this table right here, it will update our, not our endpoint, it will update our database in Xano in real time the moment we do a change, because we're actually having some event listeners going on. This is really exciting. And we can even sort this by row ID, ascending, descending. Look at that. And we could even look for only ID 1 or only ID 8. Look at that. Or only ID 9. And if we would to ID 23, nothing is in there. And now we can just remove that filter and change it back. And now we can even do like alphabetic. Annoy is number 1 in here because he has an A in his name. And yeah, the other way around, Ray would be the lowest one. We can do the same thing with last names. We can do this by customer number as well. We can do this by next invoice date. We can even search for a specific date in here. For example, like this. This is for Elvis. And we can have that cleared as well. And we can also look for if there is clear. Boom. So we can clear that date. And yeah, we can go with paid. So for example, if we would have some people that didn't pay, we would have only the ones that have paid on top, but we can also search for where paid is true. So we will only see the ones that have paid. So let's go back to Xano because this is where the magic is updating in real time. We'll see only Annoy has paid. And now if we go back to Wized and we update the filter to false, we will see all the ones that have outstanding payments. And now let's say Joe paid. It will remove Joe from our to-do list, and we will see in Xano, okay, Joe just paid. Perfect. And we will say, okay, Nelson paid, and Ben, and Josh, and Muhammad, and Ray, and Leon, and George. Perfect. Everybody paid. And we will see that if we refresh, indeed, yes, everybody paid. And now I can sort that filter to both options. Perfect. And they'll be in here. So this is really amazing. And this is a whole complete data table like you would find it even in Xano's interface right here. You can build something like Xano with this because what they have the data table in here. And this add a row is more than likely a different component. And the search on top is more than likely a different component as well. That is just, you see, it is opening their component. But this table itself is just an iframe, not really an iframe. It is just an SDK, probably, like the AG grid. They may even use AG grid, potentially. And yeah, you can even move that as well in Xano. And we can move ours as well. I forgot to mention that. We are able to move our data tables in this Wized project as well. So this really is amazing. Look at that. Boom. Here you go. And that was one step too far. Perfect. So this is really comprehensive. Like you could build Airtable with this. You could build a Xano clone with this. You could build a whole booking system, a whole accounting system with this. You could even pair this with existing functionalities. You could, you can build advanced enterprise SaaS applications with this table. This is really the foundation of a comprehensive project. And I'm so happy that there is this clonable right now out there, and it's super simple. So let's go into the setup. We just have the HTML embed in here, and this will just load the AG grid in there. So what AG grid is, it is this grid system like this one, which it is like a software development kit, and you can just put this in your project. And yeah, they have the JavaScript API, and this is where I based all my development on. Perfect. And yeah, this is what's going on in here. So we have this as the base for the HTML structure, and we can even change the theme if you want to. And yeah, let's go to the JavaScript on Webflow. In this one, we're defining the columns. Those are those one right here in Wized, where it says paid, next invoice, customer number. We need to define them because we need to have the grid structure, right? The columns. And then we're just adding the possibilities in here to check if they can be filtered. Yes, we can filter in here. So we are allowing that. Perfect. And then we're having some other settings in here that are utility utility settings, that way around, where we will be able to have pagination, for example, and all of those amazing other features. Now we have this function here, and let's actually give it one more line, on cell value changed. And this is a function. So if the cell value changed, meaning that when I update Elvis Ben, let's do Ben 1, 2, 3, and we will see that this will go to our Xano database. So what we're doing here is we're actually going to look if its cell value changed, we're going to get the input of that row, and we are going to take this input, which is event.data, that AGGrid provides us, and we're going to set this as the updated row variable, and we're going to set, actually, we don't need this anymore because we can save ourselves this action because I already removed it from the code to make it even easier for you. Perfect. One line less code. Isn't that amazing? Every no-coder is dreaming of that. Perfect. So yeah, we're actually updating that here, and we're doing this ... to reinitialize it. And yeah, then we're doing a console log, of course, because we need to debug some things, or maybe you need if you are developing with this. And then we just define the AG grid to be empty. And we're also going to apply the row IDs in here. Because if we go now in here, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But actually in Xano, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. So 8 is not in here. But if we go to Wized, we have 8 at Leon. So what is going on is it's actually taking the indexes and saying, wait a sec, you just skipped one number. We need to reorder everything after this number so that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 iterating up. So this is even improving that. So if you have something that is record 15 and record 60, it will show as 1, 2 on your user's front end so that they won't get confused. Why are we doing now a jump by 35 and another jump by 68? What's going on? So this really also helps to provide a better user experience, especially if you're building an enterprise app, which more than likely is the use case for anything with like this database table grid structure. So let's go to the next part. It is, we're going to set up the link after we loaded all the DOM and all of that. So this is just part of their API where we're going to load their elements into our frame. And then we're going to expose the load data grid so that we can do external calls. We're doing this external call in Wized the moment we get the data from Xano. So think of it like this. The grid is already existing. It's just empty. And we expose this now so that when Xano tells us, hey, successful, we got the data, Wized can then say, by the way, you already have the door open. Let me just throw in this cart with all the files and you can process that. And this is what we're doing here. We're just keeping the door open for Wized to provide data to an empty grid. Because as you can see, if I were to go to our action right here and go to, where do we have that? I think it is load data into grid, of course. If we were to comment this action out like this, and we would reload this, we will see an empty grid. It will just say loading because we don't have any data in there yet, and we just set it to the state of loading. And if we now were to push the data in here, you will see that the data appears in this empty grid. So this is what this part is doing. So let's just refresh and let's start blank what's going on in Wized. So this was the code from their API, what they exposed to us, and how this will work with Wized. I may even update the code when you see this video. If you see any changes, that just means it just got a little bit better. Because I like to maintain that so that when something changes or updates, you are already on the newest version with that. So yeah, let's first of all start with our action. We have to get the record. So we have to set up an action that will get the records. Very easy and straightforward. It is just a simple GET request right here in Xano, where we have the function stack and we're doing a GET call to our database. And then in Wized, we have another item called update record. And this will actually update the record in our Xano database using the edit record. And I will go back later on to the update record because this has a lot more preliminary steps we need to do before we can cover that. Perfect. So yeah, first of all, let's get the data. So what we're going to do when the page starts loading like this, we're going to perform the request of get records. And this is all we do. So when the page loads, we see that we're getting the records in here. Like this. Perfect. And then we load the data into the grid. So when the custom condition is met, when the variable, this one, of the data grid in here is true. So when we have something in the variable, we're going to push data into it. So what's going on here? The moment I render this list, right? The moment I get these items from Xano, I will be setting, if we go in here, up into the variable, we see that the variable itself actually has some code in there. There's a run function going on in this variable. So we have this variable of data underscore table. And this variable basically defines const records, the r.getRecords data. This is from the request we're doing in Xano. So we're getting the data, and we have this code in here. What this code is doing, as I already mentioned, when we have in Xano something like 7, 9, it will make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It will make sure that it is a numeric value going up and not skipping any step. So this is what this code is doing. And then the result will be this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 iteration, always +1 and never skipping a step, even though if we may do some big jumps. This is what that is doing. And the moment this variable is processed, this computed variable, so the moment we have something in here, right, like this, we're going to fire off the action to take this data from this variable and to push this variable data into the grid. As you can see right now, we don't have any variable data in the grid, and now we pushed it. So this is what's going in here, load data into grid. So meaning that when the variable data dot length is greater than 0, so if there is something in here, we are going to perform a run function. And the run function will be very simple. It is window.load data into grid. It's a function. And we're going to apply this to the variable that contains in the numeric order 1, 2, 3, always +1. Even if we do 50 jumps, we just will do 1, 2 instead of 105,875. we'll just do 1, 2. This is what this code is doing, and this is computed in this variable. So this is a nice way how to use a computed variable. And yeah, we'll take that and we'll initialize it into the grid. So again, if I were to comment this out like this, and we would reload this, we will see that nothing happens, right? And if I were to now initialize it, we will see that the data is being loaded into the grid, into the code we have statically on Webflow. That's what we're doing in here. And then we have another condition, another event listener going on. Thanks to the AG-Grid API, they pre-built everything for us here, which is amazing. So we have the custom condition that when the updated row, this is this updated row in here, the dot length is greater than 0, and we're going to define this object because it will be an object. So if there is any content in this object, this is what this is saying, which is right now false. It's just an empty object. But if there's any content in this object, we're going to perform a request to update the record. So if I were to now really quick deactivate this request to actually just comment this out, it's a wonderful thing. If you ever need to deactivate a request temporary, comment it out. Very valuable. So let's look into this. If I were to edit a record like this, boom, I will have, actually, let's reload everything. And let's see if we can get that work. Oh no, I think we're going to set the variable to the commented. Yeah, that one doesn't work. So let's, we still cannot deactivate requests. So let's just create a new variable. And we're going to define that variable instead, so that we don't get the one wiped out that I want to showcase you on. So if we put in here Joe, like this, we're going to see that updated row is undefined. Let's see, what did I do wrong? Edit record. Yeah, we need to get the possibility to deactivate it. Oh, I forgot to set it. But we need to, at some point, need to be able to deactivate actions. So let's do Joe 1, 2, 3, like this. Perfect. And we will see, yes, now we have it. Wonderful. We see updated row is Joe 1 to 3. This is the updated record, right? It is only the row that we just updated. At this point, it is not in the database yet. So what we need to do is when this updates in here, right? When something changes in here, we need to do the request of edit record. So what we're going to do, we're looking in here, is something in here. If something is in here, we're going to perform the request to update the record. And now we're going to do exactly this request, update record. So we're going to do a post call, and we map first name, last name, customer number, next invoice, paid status to those fields and send it to the Xano database. Because the object we have in here for the updated row, right, contains all this new information that we updated in the table on the front end, right? All this in here, right? This is this one, updated row. This contains all the information. And now we need to take this information and split it up into the different fields and then put it back into our Xano database. So this is what we're doing right now. So we see we have Joe 1 to 3, and we see we have Croc, and we see we have the customer number and all of that, right? So we will send this data, and now we have this data in the database. So let's look into our database in here, and we will see Joe Croc 1 to 3. Wonderful. And now what we need to revert back is after the request finishes, this request update record, right? So this is the request we just did. When this request successfully finishes, so once it is finished and the status of it equals 200, which is true, now we want to set an empty value back to the updated row, because there is no active updated row. Because when we update the row, we have something in the variable. And then we want to perform the request to update it. So it was now successfully updated. So now we want to wipe out our to-do list and say, yeah, we just did that. We don't need to focus on that. And we'll keep this free for the next row that needs to be updated. This is what we're doing here. And then we just set it back to an empty string. So we see it is already an empty string because we just did that. And now we're going to perform the request of get records, because now we have updated information in our database. And when we update the information, even though we have the data already in the grid, we want to reinitialize the data to make sure that everything is properly showing on the front. And this is just the best practice thing. Just to reload the data to get the data now from the database as the source as well. And as you see, while doing all of those complex things that are really intense, and we're calling so many things and setting all those variables, we don't have any flashing. It is like nothing is happening. Look at that. Like I'm editing all the things, I'm manipulating and updating the database, but nothing is flashing. It is a smooth experience. Like doing this in Xano or Airtable. This is such a smooth thing. And we can even make fields uneditable. So I can edit this field. I cannot edit the row ID, and I cannot edit this. So if we go back to the code again, in the JavaScript in Webflow, we can actually go in here and say editable false, and we can say editable true, and we can say editable true and false. So we can even make certain fields not editable in this column, in this, like everything in there. And we can even initialize drag and drop if you want to. We can even just like rearrange the columns in here like this. We can say we don't want the IDs, but we want to see who paid, and we don't need the first name, but we need the customer number, and before that the invoice date. We can rearrange that however we want. We could even save the rearrangement in a variable and then reload this based on user configuration. If you want to, I can make a video on that. If you want to have that, please let me know in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to make a video on that. And yeah, this is basically it. And now let's just mark some people as unpaid. Wonderful. And then reload, and we'll see this is updated in the database. This is how simple that is. And let's just take a quick look at the endpoints. So this is just basic endpoint again. We just update, we just actually query all records. This is just a get endpoint to get the data. And then we'll have a post endpoint to put the data and edit the record in here. We search this record by customer number. Ideally, we want to search this by the field that is not editable or not shown in the chart, maybe a UUID, so that we can reference back to that as a more secure way, because there may be two people with the same name. So this is not a great way to index something, to just say we want this Mark, not the other Mark, or we want this Thomas, but not the other one, right? So this is what we're doing here, and we're just updating the record. There is enough documentation and enough videos of Xano out there. I will not going into the details. If you want to learn about Xano, I highly recommend you to check out my good friend Radek. He has amazing videos about everything, like every roadblock you could face at Xano. He already has like 5 videos about that. So I highly recommend checking him out as well at State Change. He saves my butt all the time. And yeah, so this is what's going on in here. And this is basically the summary. Let me just really quick delete this test variable. We just needed to, because we couldn't activate missions. And if anybody from the Wiz team is watching this, which I strongly believe they are, please prioritize deactivating missions. We need a toggle in there, because sometimes it's really a pain to work with those missions that fire all the time. But yeah, thank you so much. I know you're working on that, but just maybe put this on the priority list because we really need that. But yeah, I hope that this, that you really like this. And by the way, we can even filter that. Look at that. Wow. We can even put like specific filters. We only want to have annoy. Look at that. And then we mark him as unpaid. And yeah, we can reset the filter. Like, this is really amazing. This is high level SaaS application right in here. And you don't need React. You don't need vanilla JavaScript. You don't need all those fancy stuff that takes you months or weeks to build. You can do this like in a few minutes in Wized. And it's only taking 25 minutes since I'm talking so much in this video to explain you all the details so that you get a comprehensive understanding how every little detail is working, since this is a bit more complicated, since we're now actually working with an SDK. So yeah, thank you so much for all your support. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for your time and all your wonderful DMs I'm getting on Discord. This really, and I cannot say this enough, this really means the world to me, and I'm so thankful to have this wonderful community and also the wonderful team, the wonderful complete Wized and FinSuite team be so happy and be so, for example, to be so supportive in what I'm doing, to give me advice, to give me tips, to help me around situations. I just really want to thank them. It's hard to put it in words, but because they do so much to help me create those wonderful videos to you, in explaining me things, how to work, that get a better understanding. So I just really wanted to take this minute to say thanks to the complete FinSuite team, to say also thanks for Noi, for helping me out whenever I don't know how to make a button work in Webflow. And also thanks so much to Ray Deck from State Change. He's amazing, to help me out whenever I have an issue in anything code related or database related where I have no idea how to fix that. And by the way, in the meantime, while I'm updating Elvis's record, also thanks so much to Elvis for helping me get the drag and drop figured out. And as you can see, Elvis is updated right in here. So I just wanted to say thanks so much for everybody. Thanks so much to this wonderful community. This really means the world to me, and see you tomorrow.